Hello everybody, my name's Neil, welcome back to Retro for You. On today's episode I'm going to be looking at some machines. Now I've been very lucky in the past few weeks. I managed to pick up a huge haul of machines. Now there's not only machines, there is co-processors, there is lots of books, lots of software, etc, and loads of cables, extensions. There's a lot of stuff for me to go through. So what I've happened to do is pick out which I think are some of the more interesting machines. So today I thought we'd have a quick look, just show you what's to come on Retro for You. So without further ado, let's crack on! Now the first machine we're going to look at is this. Now this machine needs no introduction. It's a Commodore VIC-20 and was Commodore's first colour home computer. It was a smash hit, selling over 1 million units. I myself never had one of these machines. I actually went straight to the Commodore 16 and then onto the Commodore 64. Now I do have a 64 and it's nice to have now a Commodore VIC-20. Now one thing about this is it's an early one because it's got the 2-pin plug on the side. I'll stick a picture up there so you can see. Other than that, it looks in great condition, looks like it would clean up well for a video in the future. So that's about it for this. Now let's move on to the next one. Now I've just pulled 2 of these up out of a whole batch that I've got. I think I've got about 5 of these or 6 of them. And I think one's a ZX80, one is a ZX82. Now what's strange about these ones is they're not in cases, they're on flat boards. Now originally I thought maybe these are something to do with a college, etc, and they're used for demonstration purposes or for people to learn how to program or repair computers. But after doing some research, I think they're actually some of the earlier ones that were released to the public in kit forms, and these have been built up by somebody at home. Now you can tell here there is some home soldering done onto this composite video output, and here as well you can see there's some home soldering done there. So these look like the homemade kits. Now I can see what he's done here to get the composite out. I put a cap between, which gives you a better signal. Now there's an Amtel ROM there, no idea what that is, but it looks like it's a programmable something. It's called a ROM-L. So if anybody knows what these are, or if I'm wrong by saying they're the early kits, then let me know in the comments down below. But also if you know what this ROM-L is, just let me know that as well, because I need to know about all these before we start to discover more in the videos and try to get these machines going. So that's it for these. Let's move on to the next lot. Now let's have a look at a lesser known computer, the Oric 1. Now it's designed by a company called Tangerine Computers. It was designed solely for a rival for the ZX Spectrum and aimed squarely at the home computer market. It had a 1 MHz 6502 processor and a 16K or 48K of RAM. It also featured apparently great sound capabilities for its time and a basic implementation and even a built-in speaker, which you can see underneath. Now there is a wire stuck out the back. I've no idea what that is, whether it's something to do with power, because there's a power socket there. Again, we'll be looking into this. Now it looks very cheaply built, you can tell by the keys. It actually looks like a calculator. The spacebar looks especially ridiculous. Apparently it didn't sell too well in the UK, but it did surprisingly well in France, and it's got quite a bit of a cult following in France, so they say. This was mainly down to it having a French version of BASIC, which obviously cornered the market on the ZX Spectrum. I've never seen one running, so it's going to be quite exciting to get this up and running one day and have a look at its capabilities. So let's move on to the next machine. Next we have the Dragon 32, released in 1982. This little gem hails from Wales. I should say less than a little gem, it's a very big machine. Now it's a bit quirky looking, but I quite like that. And the emblem obviously is like the Welsh flag. It was released again as a competitor to the likes of the ZX Spectrum, the Commodore 64. The Dragon 32 was powered by a Motorola 6809E CPU running at 0.9 MHz. This was actually a very advanced processor for its time, much better than you'd find in the ZX Spectrum or the Commodore 64. It offered powerful instructions and was great for serious programming. However, the Dragon fell short with its graphics chip. The MC6847, or Video Display Generator, while functional, could only manage a resolution of 259 by 192 in monochrome, or 128 by 192 with 4 colours. Yes, only 4 colours, and they were mostly shades of green, yellow and orange, which didn't do much for the gaming experience, as you can tell. Now, the poor graphics chip was one of the main reasons why it struggled in the market. Whilst it had excellent hardware under the hood, its graphic capabilities just couldn't keep up with the games of the ZX Spectrum or the Commodore 64. Still, it has its charm. With the right programs, the Dragon could shine, especially when used for programming and text-based applications. If you ever use the Dragon 32 or its successor, the Dragon 64, I'd love to hear your memories, so drop me a comment down below. So now let's cut to the Acorn machines. Now this machine here is the Acorn Atom. Now it was released in 1980 and it was Acorn's first fully assembled microcomputer, although a kit version was available if you wanted to save a few quid. Now myself, haven't ever used one of these, so again it's a very exciting time to have a look at one of these. Now there is again another wire sticking out of it for some reason. It looks like it was a composite output mod. Now the Atom at the time was quite powerful. It had a 1 MHz 6502 processor and 2 kilobytes of RAM as standard, though it could be upgraded to 12 kilobyte. It ran basic called Atom Basic, which was baked right into a ROM, so it had a basic ROM, which was great, so it didn't have to load anything off tapes. And while it wasn't very flashy, it laid the groundwork for something much more bigger. So this was a predecessor to the BBC Micro, and you can see the similarities between the two, can't you? You can see where the BBC Micro came from this machine. So this again will be quite an interesting machine to look at. Now there is a bit of damage here around this bezel, unfortunately, but I'm sure we can sort that out when time comes. And I know I've got another one in the boot which probably got this plastic complete, so between the two I should be able to make a nice machine. So again, another machine I'm looking forward to. Now, like all these machines, if any of these fetch back any memories and you've used these machines before, a lot I haven't used. I've used the Dragon 32, played the Cuthbert games. The Atom I've never ever seen, so to see one of these running is going to be amazing and I can't wait. Now the keyboard feels quite nice, like all BBC computers. Drop me a comment down below if any of these machines are fetching back memories and what you used to do on them, etc., because I love to hear stories about these old computers. So let's move on to the next Acorn machine. So out the Atom came the BBC B. Now this one, you will notice, you keen-eyed people, it's a 64K version. Now it was released in 1981 and this is the top tier of the BBC B microcomputers. The 64K in the name refers to the upgraded RAM expansion inside, which made it a powerhouse for educational and professional use. It was equipped with a 2 MHz 6502A processor, and the machine was designed with flexibility in mind. It featured 8 expansion ports, including support for floppy drives, printers, and even had networking, the Ethernet, which everybody remembers from school. Schools loved it because it was reliable, durable and easy to expand. And also these keyboards still today are amazing. It had 8 display modes with resolutions up to 640 by 256. Although when the resolutions went higher, fewer colours could be displayed, but the versatility made it great for both games and serious applications. Now let's not forget the sound chip, the Texas SN76489, which produced all those beeps and bops and blips which are famous in the BBC microcomputer. Many people's first encounters with BASIC were on one of these BBCs, and I myself remember using these at school, although I never seen a 64K version, so when I saw this I was quite happy and quite excited to use this. Now I know when I turn this on it's going to go up in smoke, so I'm not even going to plug that in until we change those reefer caps. So whether you used it for school, for games or programming, the BBC B64K is still a legendary machine. Now let's take a look at the Acorn Electron. Now I've got many fond memories of this machine, as this was one of the machines which my dad owned when he was around, and I also remember he used to have the +1 expansion, and this was his first main computer he had, and I always remember he spent many a time typing in the old programs on this keyboard, so this does fetch quite a few happy memories back to me. Now this was released in 1983. It was Acorn's budget-friendly alternative to the BBC Micro. It was smaller, simpler and more affordable, but it still packed quite a punch for its size. Again, best keyboards ever, BBCs. The Acorn Electron shared a lot of its DNA with the BBC Micro, including its 2 MHz 65028 processor and also a simplified version of the BBC Basic language. However, it lacked some of the advanced features of bigger sibling, like the multiple expansion ports or support for higher resolutions. That's where this +1 expansion came into play. By adding this add-on, the Electron gained a printer port, 2 ROM slots which are here and here, opening up a world of possibilities for games, utilities and educational use. The +1 was a game changer for the Electron, bridging the gap between it and the more capable BBC Micro. It allowed users to add peripherals like joysticks, disk drives and even ROM based applications. You could turn a much modest machine into something much more versatile. While it was never as popular as the BBC Micro, the Electron found its own niche among the hobbyists and families, and with the +1 it became a serious contender for those looking to expand their setup on a budget. Now it's a fantastic little machine that proved you didn't have to spend a fortune to get into computing in the 80s. So we're about to move on to the final machine now. I hope you enjoyed looking at these as much as I have. Now this is something a bit unusual. Now it's an A3000, which was the Acorn Archimedes, which was released in 1989. This is Acorn's first all-in-one computer in the Archimedes range, designed for schools and home users alike. But this one has some unexpected quirks. For a start, it's got an AT power supply plumbed into it, and also this caddy here, which is an external caddy with a hard disk drive. There's nothing connected to it apart from a connector there, but the rest of it is powered off this power supply, and then the wires have disappeared into the back of the Archimedes. Now normally the A3000 would have a power supply internal. Whether that has failed at some time and this power supply has just been plumbed in, who knows. This ran a 32-bit ARM2 processor running at 8 MHz and had 1 MB of RAM as standard, but was expandable to 4 MB. It came with the impressive RISC OS, which I liked and which we used on the A3020, which was ahead of its time when this came out. However, this particular machine did not have a hard drive, I believe, and it seems like somehow it'll be interesting to see whether he ran this external or somehow, or there's an expansion board inside. I've no idea. Who knows what's going on inside here? This A3000 didn't originally support an internal hard drive or external or this kind of PSU. So somebody clearly went to great lengths to customize this, and we'll have to investigate further to see what's hiding inside. When we get around to this, I'm sure it's going to be an interesting video to tear apart. Obviously these have the batteries inside as well, which could elite and cause more damage. So that's about it for now. I hope you've enjoyed looking at all these machines as much as I have. This one being a bit more unusual, which is why I pulled it out for you to look at. So I enjoyed that. It was quite a look at some of the most fascinating machines from the golden age of computing from the 80s, from the quirky Dragon 32 to the BBC Micro, to the underappreciated Acorn Atom and Acorn Electron, and of course the mystery-filled Archimedes 3000. Each of the systems tells a different story of innovation, creativity, and sometimes just pure determination to make things work. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. If you've got memories of using these machines, or maybe some tips on what might be lurking inside the A3000, then drop me a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks to all my subscribers for joining me on this journey through my retro tech adventures. Now, if you enjoyed the video, then please give it a likes up and drop me a comment down below, even if it's hello. Check out my YouTube buddies down below also. You've got the likes of Captain Commodore, 8-Bit Retro Refix, Joseph, Retro Bits. I also have a membership now. Now I'm getting up with the subscribers and watch hours. I do have one paying member. Thank you very much. I will be working on more benefits for paying members. It's just 99p a month, but obviously that helps towards the channel. So have a check out, and if you can, hit that membership button and join my membership. That's it for now. I shall see you next time on Retro for You. See you soon, guys. Bye.